Scenes in this documentary may be too intense for younger viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hurricane Katrina. A Category 4 hurricane that stretched the Gulf Coast with wind speeds of 100 to 140 miles per hour and nourished over 4 times the damage than that of another well-known hurricane, Hurricane Andrew.
It started August 23, 2005, when a tropical storm was brewing over the Bahamas. The surrounding ocean's temperature was just at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Water was evaporating and condensed into thunderclouds. The condensation was releasing heat into the atmosphere. As the cycle continued, the wind started circulating, creating a center, making Tropical Depression 12 in the atmosphere. This storm gradually gained strength. The tropical depression eventually gained enough strength and became the beginning of Hurricane Katrina. The weak Katrina slowly moved towards the Gulf, sometimes only at speeds of 6 miles per hour. When it reached Florida, it was only categorized as a 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It then moved toward the Gulf of Mexico. There it gained immense strength, feeding off the warm waters of the Loop Current, a system of warm ocean water that flows between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula and moves north to the Gulf. Now categorized as a 5 and with wind speeds of 175 miles per hour, it moved towards the coast.
Upon arriving early morning August 29, 2005, Katrina had lost wind speeds and was now only a Category 4 hurricane. It didn't matter. It wreaked havoc on the coast for 12 hours and had a size of 70 miles wide. Eventually it lost most of its strength and was finally uncategorized, and its winds were only peaking at 65 miles per hour. After that, Katrina left within hours, completely fading out in the Great Lakes frontal zone. The effect of Katrina, however, didn't leave, as it caused mass flooding, damage, and killed 1,250 to 1,840 people, 2/3 of which was caused by levee failure.
The day before, New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin issued the city's first ever mandatory evacuation order. He also declared that the Superdome, a stadium located on a relatively high ground near downtown, would serve as a shelter of last resort for people who could not leave the city. During this, about 80% of the city evacuated and 10,000 found shelter in the Superdome. However, despite this order, tens of thousands decided to wait out the storm at their homes. The day of, massive flooding occurred in New Orleans because of its levee breaches, and New Orleans' average of 6 foot below sea level, unlike the Mississippi River's levees. The ones on Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Borgne, and the waterlogged swamps and marshes were much weaker and less reliable. Because of this, water easily swept under or up the levees and left the place consistently below 15 feet of water, and very few low-leveled places, as much as 30. The day of, around 1,800 people perished in the hands of Katrina, 2/3 due to levee failure.
In response, those who stayed behind desperately scrambled to their attics and roofs. The 30% in poverty at New Orleans, who didn't have cars or a place to go, attempted to walk across the Crescent City Connector Bridge to the nearby Gretna. Officers, however, wanted nothing of the sorts, as they had shotguns and drove them back. People who stayed left their homes and flooded the Superdome. They took 15,000 people after Katrina before having to close the doors with their already limited supplies. Others, desperate for food, water, and shelter, broke into the nearby Ernest N. Memorial Convention Center complex. There, they found nothing but pure chaos.
After the Coast Guards rescued as much as 34,000 people, and neighbors drove on boats rescuing and offering food and water to those in need. During this, the Federal Emergency Management Agency took days to establish operations, and still after did not seem to have a clear plan. In addition to this, it seemed like President Bush was underestimating the sheer damage from Katrina as he passed a state of emergency in selected regions of Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi on August 27th. Stephen Beyer inquired as to why President Bush's declaration of state of emergency had not included the coastal parishes of New Orleans, Jefferson, and Plaquemines. The damage Katrina acquired included 4.1 million cubic yards of debris. In more relatable terms, if the debris was in a football stadium, it would go as high as 10.5 miles. It also made 1.1 million people above the age of 16 evacuate. 600,000 had not returned after a month, and 500,000 had still not returned by late December 2005. At this time, a combination of FEMA trailers and hurricane evacuee shelters housed about 387,000 people. The hurricane caused the damage of more than 1 million housing units in the Gulf Coast region, with over 134,000 in New Orleans alone, or in other terms, 70% of New Orleans' occupied homes.
Now the Army Corps of Engineers has rebuilt the levees higher and stronger than ever before. It has supporting steel beams that can go as deep as 65 feet below sea level. A post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act offers contribution to help cities revise evacuation plans. This is going to help with things such as better communication with non-English speakers, people with disabilities, and recognizes the needs of people with pets. It also raises the funds for the Urban Search and Rescue Team. Also in 2006, the Federal Emergency Management Agency approved 15 public grant programs over $94.3 million to remove about 2.1 million cubic yards of debris. There is also now a system called NOLA Ready for evacuation alert information. The system will work through text or email, and 13,000 have already signed up. The New Orleans metro area has also had a big difference in population. It was 1,450,000 before Katrina, and then dropped just over 1 million. But it has now climbed back up to a population of 1,230,000. As for New Orleans itself, it went from about a 485,000 population in April 2000 to 230,000 as of July 2006, which is a loss of approximately 255,000, or a little over half. Now it has made a tremendous recovery of 80% of its original population, now standing at a population of about 387,000.
Hurricane Katrina was a devastating hurricane. The once small tropical storm over the Bahamas eventually went down as the current third most powerful U.S. Atlantic tropical cyclone and would go down as the most costliest Atlantic hurricane on record.